So Provenance drums are something that I've talked about before on here. I own a 14 by 5.5 inch metal snare drum made out of the panel from a VW camper van, albeit it was a pest control van. And I've had that drum for a little while. I had there was actually 3 drums made from that panel. There was a 14 by 8 which went to the owner, or the original owner of the panel, and there was also a 14 by 4 which I did have the chance to buy. I did review, and it was just a little lacking in sort of lower end, sort of lower mid end sort of sound for me. So I kind of passed on it. Although Mike Dawson from Modern Drummer did actually review the very same drum and managed to get it to go quite low, so that must have just been my tuning. I've reviewed quite a few snare drums from Provenance over the years though. I think maybe 6. This drum I actually reviewed a couple of years ago with something else, and I reviewed this drum even though it actually belonged to, well, the guy I got it from, but it belonged to him. I still reviewed it anyway, and about a year and a half ago I got the chance to buy it, which was kind of cool. The previous owner was Tom Meadows, who I've mentioned many times on here. He's Kylie Minogue's drummer, amongst other people. I did see him on Strictly Come Dancing the other day, playing with Tears for Fears, so well done, Tom, if you see this. This drum though is made from, well, actually, if I go into Provenance, if you've not come across Provenance before, basically Tim from Provenance makes drums out of reclaimed material. And as I said, this can be wood or it can be metal. The other drum I have, as I said, is a metal drum. This is also a metal drum, and it's rather heavy, which is why I'm using my leg to brace the weight of it. This is a 13 by 9. Although it may not seem quite so large, but it is a 13 by 9. It's made from a 1962 Bentley car, and it's in this sort of custom white finish. And the provenance of this drum is that, as I said, it belonged to Tom Meadows. It was used on the 2011 Kylie Minogue World Tour with the Craviotto kit that I've got. So this kind of well, it completes that kit in sort of on many levels in many ways. This drum he used on the tour, and not the white drum, which is that one, which is actually the matching snare drum for the kit. But he used this drum on the tour. I got it, as I said, about a year and a half ago when I got the chance to buy what was the remainder of that white Craviotto kit. So I kind of wasn't planning to buy this. I think I did originally say no, and then I kind of worked something out where I could actually buy it and keep the whole kit together, which kind of made me happy because I thought it belonged together anyway. But as you can see, I'm not going to wave this around too much because it is, as I said, heavy. You've got a Donette strainer there, so that sort of flips around. I think it's the R4, can't remember. Triple flanged hoops. You've got the extra long tube lugs. I think it's an 8 lug, 2, 4, 6, 8 lug. I've got Remo Hazy on the bottom there, and I've got a CS reverse dot on there. That is, I play a lot of cross stick. I use this on a couple of gigs with my band. I do a lot of cross stick in that band, as you might expect, because it's Scar. And basically this is Remo's really crap heads, or the coating of it anyway. So that's the only reason why that's like that. The inside of the drum probably won't show up if I wave it around, but I will obviously do a close-up. It's unfinished inside, so it's a rough texture on the inside, which is kind of different, kind of interesting. A rounded bearing edge. I realised the other day I don't talk about bearing edges too much on here, so it's got a rounded bearing edge, so you know, you get a sort of a nice sort of fat sound from there. And the snare bed is probably 4 or 5 inches, you know. And Tom had these, I think they're Pure Sound equalizers, I think. I'm not very good on Pure Sound stuff, but yeah, it's quite a dry sounding drum, let's put it that way. So I've kind of got this. Both heads are actually quite cranked on this, but because it's so deep, it still maintains that depth. And you know, I've had it a little bit lower. I mean, it will go a little bit lower, but strangely, considering it is such a deep drum, it is the deepest snare drum that I actually own. It doesn't. I find that it doesn't sort of want to go down too deep. There's kind of a maximum depth that it will go to tension wise before it just sort of, you know, sounds like pudding. So, but anyway, I don't use this drum too often, but I have used it a few times recently. I had it in the other room, and that's kind of why I had it out. It's kind of fun to play. It's an absolute bugger to find a snare drum stand deep enough. I have a couple, thankfully, but the snare drum stand I have in the other room is actually sits slightly higher than the one I now gig with, and I use this for the big gig that my band does, big charity gig that my band does every year. I used this on that gig last year, and I seem to remember having to sit slightly higher than I would normally do, because it's not a, you know, snare drum stands will only go so low, and if you sit low already, which I tend to do, yeah, it's not the easiest thing to get on with. But you know, it's a nice drum. It's got a nice loud crack to it, as you all hear in a second. So anyway, one thing I really do like about Provenance, and I've told Tim this, is I really like that badge. It's kind of cool, but at the same time sort of understated, and doesn't get silly, and it's all metal as well, so it's, you know, it's really nice. Anyway, I'm going to put this damn thing down because it's way too heavy. This is what it looks like, this is what it sounds like, and thank you for watching. See ya.